This has been created to actually have some of our graduates in both continuing ed and higher ed come and speak to you tonight about their career experience. I think it's going to be fun for us to sit back and listen and see how these guys have evolved. This is Captain Bill Van Voorhis, who is one of our oldest students, and not in age. So Bill is not only an NMI student, his son is an NMI student, and he really is kind of the godfather of the college program. He really is one of the most ardent believers in what we're doing here. He will entertain you not only with his speaking, but his career path. He really has had a neat career, and I'm just going to slip out and listen and learn. So thanks, Captain Van Voorhis.
Here we go. This right here is what it's all about, from start to finish. And you all know that. You'll all have one if you don't already. Cherish it with your life. Hang on to it forever. Don't let it go. Don't let anybody else grab it from you. I went to the University of Maine at Orono in civil engineering and business administration. Got out, went to work immediately for a marine contractor, Chimbro Corporation, based out of Maine. At the time, 120 team members. Now they're at 4,000. They're in 40 states. And I retired 4 years ago after running all their vessels, running pretty much the whole marine program, and working for other guys on other boats also. But I think I would have, if this program, this 2-year college program, had been around in the 70s, I would have gotten to where I am now a lot sooner. My license, it took me forever to get a license. It took me, most of my classes here with Eric's school, but a lot of them other places also. And then sea time, which working in a group that works other operations other than maritime work in the off season, it was tough to get. You pour concrete, you work in paper mills, you do everything, and then once in a while you get a marine job thrown in. So it was tough. It's not like going on a tractor tugging a canal for every watch. So like some. Oh, there it is. But my son at 8 years old went on the boat with me, made a trip on a Saturday. We moved a crane through the old $1 million bridge in Portland. It's 96 feet wide. The barge was 80 feet wide. I took the barge up to the bridge. He was 8 years old, standing on a milk stool, and I got right to the opening, and he was steering. He was driving, single screw boat and push gear. He looked, I was out on deck talking to the crane operator, not in the wheelhouse with him. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Get back in here. I said, keep going. And he got it through the bridge, made the turn, and then I came back and I got it to the dock and all that. I said, you never would have learned if you hadn't done it yourself. And this is where you guys have to do it yourself to make a good, solid career. The person that's going to be worth the money is the one that's got deck experience and engine room experience. I'm finding that out now. I'm watching my boy go through it. He is useless in an engine room. A lot of your deck guys are. A lot of your engine guys are keep them out of the wheelhouse. We're finding the ones that can double dip are worth the money. I will tell you, the people that are going to be successful are the ones that are there early in the morning. They stay late. They are not in a hurry to get off watch. If you've got a relief that can't make it, oh well, you stay over. They'll watch for things like that. These company owners, they watch for the guy that's going to stay around and do a little extra every single time, and it's a critical part of it. I'm not in it to get rich. Well, it depends on who you talk to. My wife thinks I am. I'm in it because I love it. I love every minute of it, no matter what I'm doing around the tugboats. It's in me. I've built models. I've got models all over the house. She wants me to get rid of everything. I've got diving. I was a hard hat diver at first, and we picked up a ton of stuff out of the Navy yards and different big telescopes and brass this, brass that. And she's, a lot of restaurants would like to have this stuff.
Actually, NMI would like to have.
That's where it's coming. I'm working on that. But one of the things you'll find in life as you move on is you're going to run into people. I ran into Chace today. I did a couple of trips in and out of New York with him 5-6 years ago now. And I talk to him once in a while. You're gonna make contact with these guys if you're good with them, if you get along good with everybody. If the one thing that travels faster than good news is bad news, and if you're not a good shipmate, it's going to be tough for you to get a job. That travels nationwide. So clean, keep yourself clean, keep the boats clean, take care of your stuff, take care of somebody else's if they need help with the dishes or whatever. Don't worry about it. Just take care of what needs to be done on the boats. You will run into people. It's a small world, isn't it? It's a lot smaller than people think. You'll get out. I've been in Seattle and met people I've known from the East Coast from jobs, and so remember that. I'm proud of all you people for taking this on. This is a wonderful thing, and it's a lot different than an academy would be, and I think you'll do as well, if not better, when you get out, as academy guys will, girls will. Like I said, I wish it had been around when I was young. So, any questions? I'm through. I never thought I'd be out of words, Andrew. Yes, sir.
You said the most valuable people are those who double as both deck and engine people. Do you think that just means experience in engines through working on them, or going back to school to study being an engine guy?
Being mechanically minded, you will know the minute you walk into any school. You'll know if you work on your own vehicles at home, if you work on motorcycles, if you work on outboard motors or whatever, then chase that further. Chase that with engineering programs. It's to actually go for like a third and a chief mate's license, say, is tough. I know some of the academies do it, but it's tough to do both that way. But just be mechanically minded.
Okay.
And help out all you can. Do the oil changes, do the services on the mains and all that, but do it in a friendly way. A lot of guys don't want you down there if you're a deck guy, you know. And if that's the case, then so be it. But in the middle of the night when they are in a pinch, just remind them of it, that you didn't want me down here earlier. Couldn't find the lug up 55-gallon drums of oil.
Right, sure.
And you learn it's where they have the good coffee and the control rooms. It's climate controlled.
Yeah.
That's where the good air conditioning is too.
That's right, yeah.
You're big friends with the 36.
It is a little bit better ride down there sometimes too. But try to get knowledgeable on both ends of it. And you may save a life by knowing your way around. One thing we did, my company was awesome with their cranes. They buy the best cranes there are. They're older usually, but they take care of them way better than a boat. If they could do marine jobs without tugboats, they'd be doing it in a heartbeat. If they could do the same thing with a boom truck or a crane instead of a boat, that's what they do. But the cranes were spotless. But I always, when I went on a job, or when I got close to a new type of crane or whatever, I always took it upon myself to learn at least how to run it enough so if a guy had a heart attack or something, I could get the crane out of a mess or stop everything or whatever, and learn things like that, because you might have to save somebody. You may have to, not just first aid wise, but to save a job if an issue is coming up. So learn things like that. Same with the winches and the equipment in the engine room. And engine was a pretty complicated group of machines. There's a lot goes on, and an engineer's usually got things the way he wants to. The next guy may want to change things around. That happens too. But just learn. Just have your eyes open.
Thank you.
Any more? Yes, sir.
How long were you a hard hat diver? Like, were you like doing it for?
I dove
commercial?
twice with a real Navy copper hard hat, the Mach 4, Navy Mach 4. And I said, never again. It wasn't deep. It wasn't treacherous dive. I just went overboard on just 30 feet of water or whatever. And then my company went with these Kirby Morgan super lights, the yellow, light. They didn't weigh anything. And then most of the time they had a Miller. Miller's a heavy one, like the copper ones. And a lot of the guys liked the heavier ones because it kept you on the bottom. It was a light hat you'd want to float. So I was 2 or 3 years in a miller hat. I did everything but dams. We did a lot of dam work, hydros, and it scared the living daylights out of me, and I had no part of it. I tended hard hat divers for probably 15 years, so their lives depended on me every day, all day, and that was pretty interesting. But especially if you went out and partied with them the night before, you were in as rough a shape as they were.
These are the old days, by the way.
Yeah, this is the 70s, back in the 70s. But a lot of companies, you can't afford to have a diving wing now in your company. Most of them are strictly diving companies. You hire the whole company to come in and do your diving work for you. It's not, you can't keep up with the insurance, you can't keep the equipment up if you only do one job a year, say. So this is how it, and that's how my company got rid of the boats, same way. They didn't do enough of it to warrant maintenance on the boats. The salt water was eating them right alive, and they got sick of it, so they sold the whole fleet. Which is good for the next guy that has good boats, keeps up with Subchapter M, and so on. This is what you're gonna find now. You'll find companies keeping up and having a good fleet are gonna get all the work. So. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I wanted to know what maybe your most rewarding day out at sea was.
My furthest travel working was about 15 miles to Bath Iron Works the day I got married. June, they came to me, said, we've got a job in Brant Rock, which is between Situate and Plymouth, starting in October, 2 winters, an outfall pipe, almost a mile out into the ocean. Your name's on the list to go. So that was not my rewarding when I went home and told that to my new bride. But at the end of the 2 years, when it was successful, and they made money, nobody got hurt. We'd lost 2 cranes overboard, got them back, put them back to work. The boats did a heck of a job. The boats kept things moving. So the guys off the barges would leave the barges out on anchors at night, and then they'd go uptown. They'd go to these joints and have a ball, and you had no way to get a hold of them. Us out there on the moorings would see the weather getting worse and worse and worse, and no way to get a hold of anybody. So come morning, it was breaking right over onto the crane, and then they had to get out from on shore to come out and try to get us hooked onto it, and it was a failure 2 or 3 times, and they finally realized that we need to do a better job of taking care of the weather. So at the end of the 2 years' work, we went home, and the whole crew sat down and pretty near cried, because it was, we got through it. Same crew, there was a dozen people that did the whole thing, and one of the divers, Chris Howie, he's from Hull. I just talked to him the other day. I haven't seen him since then, since the 70s. So he's retired from the national diving team, and he said, I went back to that outfall pipe. I got hired to go back and look at it. You know, when we were young, everything looked huge. I went down here, it was a year ago. He said, that pipe's only that big around. He said, I don't know what we were so scared about, he said, but everything was crashing around you, and it was an offshore job. And anytime you came home and nobody got hurt, back then safety was not an issue like it is today. Safety's number one in most all your companies, or they're not around. Back then it was a necessary evil. It came in about 3rd or 4th. I got hurt a lot back then. Small things, but everybody did. But you learned to watch out for each other and prevent that. Before there were JSAs and activity plans and all this, you had already done that, you and your crew, and what you were going to do with each other to help them out. And there's no better example than tending a guy underwater for 6-8 hours at a time or whatever. But rewarding is when you get home and nobody got hurt.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, who's next?
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Chace Jabotte. As Bill told you, I've worked with him. We brought, what did we bring? The Caldwell barges and the Staten Island?
Yeah, I'm a navigator, the
Yeah.
naughty
The
navigator.
Naughty Navigator, that's right, yeah. I am local here. I was born and raised in Fairhaven. lived in New Bedford, Dartmouth, the surrounding areas. Did a lot of dredge work up and down the East Coast, Cashman, Burnham Associates, which some of you guys live at his house, which I used to caretake for before you guys lived there and shoveled on your own. Dredging is probably one of the more dangerous jobs you can do in any maritime field. It's kind of overlooked because it's not shipping and it's not big tugs. You're not moving petroleum or, you know, big ATBs or anything like that. We did a lot of anchor handling, also dangerous for cable laying barges. My experience, I worked 10 years on deck, and that's pretty much just what I'm going to share with you guys is from my experience, kind of what to look out for and try to keep your head on a swivel and how to not get yourself on the bad side of anyone in the wheelhouse or in the engine department if you move a wrench or something like that. Just try to be proactive instead of reactive as far as everything goes. You would have no idea how many people can't keep themselves clean on a boat and make a mess out of everything, slobs, and it's stuff like that that'll end up driving people crazy. You know, if somebody cooks and you don't do the dishes after them, that's kind of like an unwritten rule. Someone cooks, you do the dishes, or if you cook, they do the dishes. If you see someone's laundry, say you have something in the wash and you take their clothes out of the dryer, fold their clothes, don't just throw them somewhere and put your clothes in. I mean, it's a small boat. You can't really get away from these people. And, you know, a lot of the things that if you're in an AB class or you know, if you're just working deck, you're learning a lot of old style stuff. You're splicing pretty much 3-strand hemp rope. A lot of times you're dealing with 8-braid poly now, you know, and learn how to do things like that so that way when you actually get on a boat and you realize I don't have any hemp line on this boat, you know how to if you snap a line, you can set up a line for an emergency. That's what happens. Tugboating is what? It's days of pure boredom and moments of sheer terror is pretty much what they call it. So, you know, try to learn as much as you can without stepping on anybody's toes. If a captain or a mate wants to tell you how to do something, you listen to them. Even if you know how to do it, you listen to them again. If you think you're right, you're not, no matter what. Just listen to them. And if you can do something that, if you could do something to impress them, don't try to. You don't want anybody to know your name, and if they know your name, you want it to be good, because like Bill said, it's such a small industry. I mean, I have worked with countless amounts of companies, and that was one of the problems that I had, is I was chasing a lot of dredge work because it pays very well. So now I kind of settled in with this company that moves. I'm only on a 55-foot tugboat. We move all the aggregate back and forth to Nantucket. It's great. I got 2 young kids. I live locally, so it works out for me personally. If I was single with no kids, I'd be doing the same thing I used to do, up and down the coast, chasing the money. Just try to learn as much as you can without telling people that you know anything, pretty much. Don't act like you know anything.
Stay under the radar.
Stay under the radar. Don't, I'm just, there's not much that I can tell you guys that you guys aren't going to learn right now, because as far as the Coast Guard looks at me, I'm an OS. I worked 10 years on these boats and I'm still an OS. That's why I'm at this school. I did all my classes this year to work towards my Master of Towing. Since March I've been in class here, so the company will foot the bill, and I've been here ever since. But like, you guys are going to leave this program in 2 years and probably have bigger licenses than me, so eventually, and that's one of the best things about this program. Not only do you get the licenses when you leave and the associate's degree, but you also get sea time for sitting in a classroom, which is, it's so hard to get. It's the sea time, it's not easy. And then, like, I worked for 3 companies that are out of business now, so I gotta go chase sea time for companies that are out of business, stuff like that you don't have to deal with here. You get it just for sitting here. Just try to be proactive. Coil your lines, stuff that it's, just have a little self-respect for yourself when you're working. Don't leave a mess on the deck, don't leave a mess inside, clean up after you. Whenever you leave a room or leave the deck, make it look better than when you got on the deck. It's very simple. Coil lines clockwise, little things that will drive people absolutely insane. You know, like I said, I'm an OS. If somebody came on and was my relief, started working deck with me, and I see him hang a line on the hook counterclockwise, I'm gonna lose my mind. You know, it's just kind of how it goes. And, you know, it's little things that you can't think about that eventually you'll get it down, but you don't wanna give them that reason to look at you and say, oh, well, he doesn't know what he's doing, you know, for little things like that. As far as navigating and stuff like that, it'll come in time, you know, you'll get your time on the wheel and stuff like that, but you're gonna go on these boats and you're gonna be the new guy, you're gonna be, even if you're not the new guy, you're still gonna be probably one of the bottom of the barrel kind of guys, and that's not an insult, it's just kind of what you gotta do, you know. I went on a boat, I didn't know the difference between a pipe wrench and a crescent wrench. I was delivering pizzas for Palace Pizza, and my dad called me to go on a boat at 6 o'clock that night. So that was how I got into the industry. And I learned as much as I could, as fast as I could. It was not easy at all. I was 18 years old, 3 years probably, just learning and learning and learning again. On my off watches, I used to have to, my first captain had me throwing lines from the 2 aft bits back and forth on my off watch till I could catch a line. Practice catching a line. You're gonna need to know how to catch a line. Don't feel entitled when you get on the boats. Don't think that you belong in the wheelhouse, because you don't, because you haven't gotten that time yet. You're not gonna get that respect until you get that time. You'll get it in time, you just gotta work. You gotta work hard. Bill said, first one up, last one to bed. And if you're not, you know, always have the pot of coffee on for the next watch. Always things that you'll get in time, you know. What do you want for dinner tonight? Ask ahead of time. Not when it's 6 o'clock at night and the night watch is waking up and there's no dinner. You know, ask them in the morning, hey, what do you guys want for dinner? I'll cook something up. Little things like that. Just think ahead of the curve instead of getting behind it. Because once you start stepping on people's toes on a small boat, a lot of these boats are, what, 4-man crew, 6-man crew, you know, it's not a lot of people. Shipping.
You won't get asked back.
No, oh, no. And if you don't get asked back at one company, it's such a small industry. I mean, I know people, Bill asks me all the time, you know, hey, you know a mate's position, or you know this, or you know that, because we're all trying to just like find work, you know. It's a tough industry, especially the dredging industry, because there's no solid work. It's a seasonal thing. So when September 1st comes, that's when dredging season starts. That's when everyone's rushing to get jobs. Everyone's rushing to get work. And if you don't make the cut, you're out of work pretty much for the year. While you're doing it though, just make sure you do those little things, you know, and you'll be fine. And they're gonna teach you just fine here. That's pretty much all I got. I got plenty of stuff in my brain, I just don't do much public speaking. So if you have any questions afterwards, or you wanna ask me any now, I'll be happy to help you, you know. And I'm just kinda like a seasoned deckhand who's trying to get in the wheelhouse. So, yes, sir.
When you said you it's better to stay under the radar, but like say something's going on and you have like insight alert, would you say something like give your mind to them, tell them like?
It depends on what it is. I mean, if you see a line chafing or something like that nobody can see, or something that you can see is going to be an issue that no one else has seen yet, of course, yeah. You don't have to be a mouse. You don't have to be silent all the time, but definitely don't, you know, well, why are we going to change? Why are we going to go this way when, you know, with courses or something like that, when the captain's setting up a course, like, oh, well, the wind says this, the tide says that, and I learned this at school, you know, like, don't do stuff like that, you know? But if you see, if it'll hurt the crew, or, you know, if it'll hurt the boat, hurt the operation, say it, but don't try to be a hero, or, you know, there are people that get paid more than you for that. Just common sense. And if you look at it and you're like, should I say that? Don't say it, you know, unless it's something that could hurt someone or get you in trouble, you know. Anyone else?
Good job.
Thanks. Yeah, no problem.
So I'm Zadek Burstein. I'm from cohort 2. I think I was in the second cohort. From New Hampshire.
I think so too.
Yeah, definitely was in the second one. I'm from New Hampshire, and before NMI, I had no maritime experience. None of my family, none of my friends. I'm not even from Portsmouth. I'm from somewhere like Amherst, New Hampshire. So there's not even by the beach.
or the water. I came in here and it really helped me get my foot in the door. Now I work on a tug and barge unit in ATB. I work on an ATV and also a conventional. I get switched around sometimes. Even though I think most of the important things that I would have said kind of got brought up, but some of the things to touch up on, I think it's important to like make sure when you get on there, like going along with the proactiveness, you learn the boat really well, learn all the jobs on the boat. If someone needs help with something that way, you could pick it up. You might get on a boat and someone who's more experienced or has been with the company longer might be always doing the crane stuff, but when you get the chance, learn how to run the crane, so when he's doing something else, you can hop on that. Just be a good shipmate. That's also one of the most important parts. I've seen guys, like grown men, get in fights over like leaving Jolly Rancher like wrappers back in the drawer of the bag, like just because you're with the same 5 dudes or 6 dudes, whatever your crew runs for like a long time. I know I do 6-7 months on. I work the U.S. coast of Alaska. We refuel all the western villages. Gas, diesel, some have gas, propane, some other lubricants. So they power their villages and stay warm.
Who are you with?
Vitus Marine.
Vitus, yeah.
Yep. It's a pretty small outfit, but there's not that much. They don't have too much competition because they have a niche industry. They go to a lot of places that no one else can go. They have. They can go in like really small. We'll like run aground and stuff, and we go to like places that no one else can go because we can run our boats aground and get up little tiny areas. The 2 speakers before me, they had a lot of good points, so definitely be soaking that stuff up for sure. And anyone have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
You up on the up or down the Yukon?
Yeah, I do the Yukon. We do the Aleutians and everywhere north of that, to Kotzebue, Selawik, Nome, the Yukon. Yeah, there's a couple rivers there, like the Nushagak. There's a lot of they crazy names.
Crazy.
Yeah, a lot of vowels and things in there. But yeah, it's Constance too.
I got a friend that built a lodge, a sportsman's lodge up in Ruby, 15
Ruby.
miles from Ruby.
Okay.
And they had containers come in to get started, and they were numbered 1 through 12. Number 1 had to come first because they had the sawmill and the tractor and the forks and everything to unload everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed up like 7, 3, 9,
Yeah.
2.
Sounds like Alaska. Yeah.
They could do everything about getting them there except for count.
Yep. Yeah. It's definitely tough to get shipments in there too, for sure.
What drove you to join the maritime industry?
So I went to school in California. I got recruited to play lacrosse there. I wanted to be a writer. I got an athletic suspension. I realized I only came to the school to play lacrosse. Like once I graduate, it's kind of dumb of me. Like they have a writing program, but it's not the best. So I sat down. I was like, all right, what do I want to do? I really like traveling, and I'm okay with like setting myself aside, like working really hard so I can, play really hard after, or whatever I want to do with my time off. So I looked into it, and then as I started to learn more about it, I liked it more and more. Like I got on a boat and our refrigerator broke, and they like started opening up the back and like, using like theory of refrigeration and like trying to like dissect it, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, they could like man of all trades kind of thing, so I think that's cool.
What you watch? 28?
So it's seasonal, so it's from thaw till freeze. So it's like
A lot of 28.
yeah. So I just did 7 months, and there were people who did longer. I was just like, I need to leave. I'm done.
Wind your way out of it.
Yeah. But it was like they went a lot longer than they were supposed to. We had some issues in the off season with some of our vessels, so.
So you going back with them again?
Yeah, I got hired back. So this year I was a tankerman, and I'll be going back as a mate, so I'm really excited about that. I got my tour this year, and I'm pumped about that.
being a skeptical horse piper, and since I've been to the school, I really enjoyed myself. I think everyone does a great job. I haven't worked with any Northeast Maritime students out of the associates program. How prepared did you feel you were when you actually got to the boat and saw everything?
I worked with two up in Alaska on my boat. One I worked with, who I'd been worked with the year before. He's a tough guy, and the other we like called up and we called our office. We're like, hey, you need to hire this guy, and our office really liked me and the other kids, so they were like, all right, we'll get him out there. I think it might be the same as anywhere else. I'm sure that there's kids in my cohorts who might have been less prepared. I think it's kind of you get what you put in. There's another school that we had some kids that did internships, came out to Alaska, and comparing that school, those internships to the kids that I've met from NMI, I think we placed very well.
All right. Nice.
You said Vitus?
Vitus, Vitus. Rachel can help you out.
So Zadek, what was it like, maybe the first time you stepped on board? What was your experience maybe over the first few days in terms of being welcomed and shown around and starting to feel comfortable with what needed to happen on the boat? Because you were with a small crew?
Yeah, so I've been on the boat for the first time a couple times. When I went for my first internship, I was on a tugboat out in New York, and every time it's different, but it's the same. You go on. You might, I remember every time I've gone on, I'm like, this guy's the captain, and I'll talk to him, and he'll be the deckhand or something. You learn that there's people of all ages and stuff. You can't really tell what the position someone is by kind of looking, and just never be judgmental, I guess. Like I said, I literally thought someone was the captain. I was helping, bring groceries in with him. The second I got on, that's what they were doing, so I just jumped in and did it, and he was a deckhand, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And
That's because of your groceries.
yeah.
You always help with groceries.
You got a lot of port time in Alaska?
So, yeah, but it's not that fun. They're villages with 100 people in it that have never been anywhere else, and but yeah, and we'll get beached for a couple days sometimes. We there's no docks. We'll just go up on the beach and drop. We have a big ramp on our bow, so we could drive ATVs off and stuff. If we get stuck for a couple days, we'll go on rides and stuff.
Have you ever seen a polar bear when you went off on the
So I've seen a lot of animals there. I haven't seen a polar bear though, but I've seen a lot. I've seen other bears and stuff, but never a polar bear or an igloo. All my friends are like Eskimos and igloos and stuff, and I'm like, no, just mud, just mud, yeah.
Good job.
How's it going, guys? My name's Colby Costeira, 23 years old. I grew up right here in Fairhaven. It's elementary school here, middle school, high school. Grew up into a fishing family, so all scallopers. That's what I did. Freshman year of high school was my first time, every summer. That's, go scalloping. I never had a normal summer where I was hanging out with my friends. I wasn't riding my bike. It was fishing. It was go, go, and it was a bunch of stubborn Portuguese, You got to work for it. So I graduated high school 2013, and I thought, all of my life, this is my career. This is what I'm doing. It's what I'm destined to do. Well, it was winter time. They cut it back. You're out there in 20-foot seas, and it's not fun. Sit there. It's tough on your back, tough on your body. So I decided when we ran out of days, let me come to Northeast Maritime, see what I could do, maybe about going on a tugboat. It's kind of close, somewhat close to fishing. So I came here. Mind you, in high school, I did run a charter boat for a local guy out of Fairhaven, and I had enough sea time from scalloping that I got my 100 ton right before I graduated. So I came back here, did my AB, lifeboatman, STCW, RFPNW. I took everything that I could, just so, you know, my options were there. There were a couple of girls here that, you know, they were very nice. I don't think they no longer work here, but they called me one day and they said, hey, you know, we got a job, this Boston Towing and Transportation. They're hiring, and what do you think about it? Well, I said, well, I don't know. I mean, you know, 18, 19 years old and making all this money scalping. You know, what's the pay? What's the schedule like? They said, you know, call the port captain, find out. So I did, and he told me, he said, we'll look for a deckhand in the day boat rotation, day by day thing. Call in the morning, call in at night, come out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, whatever time it is, different crew, different boat every time. And I said, that's gonna suck, but you know what? I could always come back to fishing. So I said, what the heck? What do I got to lose? Went there. I absolutely loved it. Hardest part of the job was getting there. Once I was there, I was completely content. I never showed up. I never said, you know, what time you think we're going home today? You know. What's the workload like? Shut up, do your job. That's about it. Like they said, stay under the radar as much as you can. You know, always be helpful to anyone on the boat. Just, if there's nothing going on and you're bored, pick up a paper towel, pick up a bottle of Fantastic, wipe down the counters. Do something. You know, don't stand around. So I worked there for, you know, 4 years, and I was always pushing for the wheelhouse. And the guys, you know, somewhat liked me there. They would let me drive, let me do jobs here and there. So I came back. They sent me for my 200 ton, sent me for my apprentice mate steersman, sent me for radar, everything that I needed to move up to the wheelhouse. Well, last year in the fall, they moved me to the wheelhouse. Day boat captain, you know, young guy, but you know, every day you learn something new, even when you're at the top. So now I completely did it for a whole year in the day boat rotation, still commuting back and forth, which sucked to Boston at certain times. Not knowing when you're going to be home, not knowing when you're going to be gone, but you know, that's what you do. Recently took the mate's job, which is the same pay on the tugboat Independence. It's a 120-foot tractor tug. We tie up at the canal, and we do escorts up and down Buzzards Bay. It's kind of a retirement job, but I'm content where I am right now. It's a beautiful boat, great group of guys.
You brought the average age down.
Yeah, absolutely. If I have any advice to you guys, it's, you know, don't be a slouch when you get on the boat. Show up, even if you know it. Don't say a word, you know. Don't say, hey, I know that. Oh, I know how to do that already. Just, you know, keep your mouth closed. Just do it. Learn anything that you can. Learn how to splice, know how to throw just a monkey's fist, you know. I mean, learn how to throw a heaving line. Any knot that you can do. Anything to pass time. Always stay busy. You know, you may get on with a new company and you're training as a deckhand. There's a guy that's been there. He's a deckhand for, you know, past 10 years. And he says, come on, I'll show you the ropes. And he tells, watch this, I'll tell the captain to go off himself, you know. Something strange like that. Don't think that's cool. Don't be like that guy. He's a deckhand for the past 15, 20 years for a reason. He's content with that, you know. Just try to learn anything you can to move up. Just stay busy. Stay busy, work at it, and it's possible, that's for sure. It's possible to move up. But, any questions?
This guy's work ethic right here has got him probably the second best job on the best boat on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So listen to him.
Well said. Well said.
There's none better. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
Hi. So cohort 3, my name is Jeff McDonough. So when I guess first maritime-ish experience, I started in 6th grade on a scholarship. Learned how to sail on little wooden boats. Did that for probably 6 years, started teaching and head instructor, and the rest goes on from there. And then growing up in high school and fell in love with the water and wanted to make that a career. And my grandfather was in Merchant Marines, my uncle was in Merchant Marines, and they both went to Kings Point. So my grandfather wanted me to go there. No, that wasn't going to happen. I wanted to, I thought about it. The whole academy thing threw me off and wasn't about it. So I found NMI, a yacht captain I had met at Herreshoff, which is where I taught sailing. He told me about it. He's like, here, go get your launch driver's license, make money on the side. I'm like, all right, fine. Anyway, years go by, I completely forgot about it, and then it hit me. I'm like, I'm going to do that. So I gave the front office a call. I was like, hey, I got all this seat time from teaching sailing. I want to get my license. Had no idea, but I wanted to get my license. Figured I was a foot in the door maybe, and then came here. I met Eric, my first day here. Met Eric, met Captain Dave. Captain Dave was wearing an afro hat at the time with a visor. I think it might be still in his office. Is it? Yeah, okay.
Never leave. Never leave.
So, I mean, obviously fell in love with the environment here. Yeah, it was the middle of the summer. The whole community here is just really great. And so I signed up for the college program on a whim and said, here, these internships, they're going to be great. My first internship was on a 900-foot steel oil tanker from Valdez, Alaska to the West Coast. I was so scared, I did not sleep in the hotel. They paid for the entire trip, which was like the weirdest thing to me. They sent me an email, here's your flights, here's your hotel, this guy will pick you up at the airport. Showed up at the airport in Seattle, Washington with a Lincoln Continental with my guy sitting outside with my name on it. I was like, this is the life. Never had that happen. That was great.
Hasn't happened since?
No. The first assistant engineer actually drove me back to the airport after the internship. They just wanted to wow you a little bit. Which is understandable. I mean,
that's a while.
Polar Tankers, that's the name of the company. Great company to work for. But yeah, I just couldn't do that. So I fell in love with the company. It's a great company. But the away from home thing, family and everything, that just threw me off a little bit. But then did more schooling. School was now over. Internship had to be found, and the whole family thing and going away was still rough for me. So I found a ferry company, which I've always seen out of my hometown, Bristol. Had recently switched hands, so at this time it's now 4 years old. So it was owned by this guy that owned it for 30 years. Boats were deteriorating. Eventually, Islanders stepped in and hired a new ferry company, and they wanted to hire an intern. So I said, sign me up, I'll do it. And they said, yeah, we'll get you wheel time, we'll do whatever you want, whatever you need to do. And they did. And I had a blast last summer. It was fun. I mean, the people that you meet, the people I met are just the nicest people. There's one general store that'll sell you a gallon of milk for probably like $8. Gallon of gas on the island is same $8. Not interchangeable, exactly. The dump is open for 3 hours a day. And that's about it, yeah.
It's better than Fairhaven, by the way.
Yeah. Has one paved road too, no stop signs. So Prudence Island, that's, so now so they fired a guy in October, and internship was over, graduated, was working on getting my license, and they said, hey Jeff, we're gonna kind of make a job for you, and I was working things with Eric, and it was all over the place, and I had no idea what was going on in my head. And they hired me as a deckhand for the meantime, and what do you know, a month later, captain quit. I had my license. So they gave me a job. So now I am a captain at the A&R Marine Corp, which operates Prudence Bay Islands Transport, which runs, fancy, I don't understand it, but that's how it is. And so right now we have the winter boat in. It's a 65-foot steel boat made by Blount Shipbuilding out of Warren. It was built in the 80-ish, something like that, in the 80s. The other boat we run, which is our summer boat, is a 112-foot North Carolina state ferry. So it's the Herbert C. Bonner, named after a state representative of North Carolina. So that boat runs during the summer. It fits 18 cars, 150 passengers, and yes, it does fill up. It will fill up. Fridays, it's all full. You have to book like 3 months in advance.
You're gonna run both of them?
Yes, so right now we're running a single screw 65-foot boat. It's interesting. I signed like 10 pages of things saying I'm responsible for this, responsible for this, responsible for this. Never thought that would happen. It was like mind-boggling to me. I'm like second guessing life choices and do I really want to do this with my life? And well, I signed everything, so I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. I never thought I'd get there, but NMI definitely. I mean, I had no idea where to go, and you guys put me in the right direction. But questions, Joe?
I don't think I ever asked you, but now that you're done with school, what was your favorite part?
My favorite part
About in class besides internships.
In class besides internships. Favorite part. I don't know. All of it was like my favorite. I mean, I hated school, so it was kind of nice to actually kind of like school for once. But to tie in what Bill was saying about engineering and kind of having to know both sides is that it's me and a deckhand on the boat. If something goes wrong, it's us, right? We're a T-class boat, so it's me and the deckhand, and if something happens, it's either you or the deckhand fixing it. So I'm in the engine room. I was in the engine room today. I got out of work and literally showered and came here. I looked like I was covered in grease. I was changing shaft packing, doing oil changes, and you do it all. I mean, there's 2 captains, 2 deckhands, and that's it. Pretty much that's on the boat on a constant basis. The guy, my boss, is the vice president of operations. He has a license in case captain needs to have a day off or something, he can step in. And then there's another guy who does finance, and then people in the office that don't even step foot on the boat. So we're pretty much, we are the boats. I mean, we take care of them. The summer boat's laid up at the dock right now, and I was in there yesterday working on stuff. On my day off, I was in there working on stuff. And so I think my favorite part probably about NMI was like marine engineering. It's just so valuable. Like you sit there and you're like, oh, I'm never gonna touch a diesel engine. You kidding me?
Now you are one.
Yeah. Now you are a diesel engine. You are covered in diesel and grease and whatever. You have no idea. So.
Are they day boats? Do you go home at night?
I go home at night, yeah.
Must be late in the summer though.
Yep. Yeah, I get to work at 5 a.m. I get a 3-hour lunch break, which is really nice. But then I go back, so I get out at 11:30, go back at 3, and I don't get out till 8, maybe 9 sometimes. So 12-hour days for sure. Right now it's a little bit slower, about 8-hour days. It's really nice. But I'm hourly, so you gotta step in and do some more work, but that's what winter's for.
Good job.
Any other questions? Crickets. Cool. All right.